Here.
Here. Mike.
Everybody.
Here.
Bacon.
I don't know where it's at.
Gilmore.
Here.
Haskell.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Oakley.
Here.
Osler.
Here.
Thank you. Has everyone had a chance to do the minutes?
Wait,
I did that.
I've got a couple things I need to change on. I need to add under 4A, special meeting minutes of April 14th, 2025. That is on your seat there in front of you. I also need to add 2 communications to the communications list, F and G, which are also on your seat. One is a letter from Commissioner Ambrositis, and the other is a letter from Kyle Lewis. And then I also need to add under justice, Roman numeral 9, number 2. It's a revision to the appointment list. And I have that also. It's just a extra piece of paper here. The appointment list is in the administrator notes in your packet, and then I placed the amendment to your seat. And that's what I have as a change to the, if that's all right.
I would also like to add to the agenda, if we can, a discussion on the airport and the grants that are out there.
I'll second that motion. Okay, want to add that at the end there or what?
It doesn't matter to me where we add it. We can add it to just the,
Physical resources.
yeah,
Which is
physical resources is fine.
Sounds like they're working.
Oh, well, everything's trapped.
Okay, is there any discussion on adding into the agenda? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. So if you add that under number 11. Are there any other corrections to the agenda? Is there a motion to accept the agenda as amended?
I'll make the motion. We accept the agenda as presented
Thanks.
with the changes.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, approval of the minutes. We all need a motion to accept both the minutes of the regular commission meeting and the special meeting.
I'll second.
They moved and seconded. Any discussion or corrections on those meetings? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, general public comment. Looks like we're got lots of comments today.
I won't be shy.
Mr. Adams.
Thank you.
Yes.
Pat Adams, as most of you guys know, and everything else. I want to thank, we had the airport fly in. The newspaper was there. We also had 3 county commissioners that came, and I thank all 3 of you guys that showed up for it. I asked that when you guys get into position 11, that I know last month it was postponed, trying to decide whether we want to go ahead and whether the county wants to go ahead and fund the airport or not. I would hope you guys would fund it, but even if you guys choose not to, I hope you guys go ahead and approve the grants. There's no matching funds on the grants, and the grant money would go to another airport someplace in the state of Michigan. It doesn't go in the general fund, from everything I've read and heard and talked about. So pretty mild today. Thank you, guys.
State your-
Sid Jones, and I've been a resident here since I was a little kid, and whatever it takes to keep our little airport would be awesome. The fly-in was great the other day, wish the weather would have been better, and I thank you all for your consideration to keep a small town girl happy. And I'm sure there's many people like me. Thank you for your efforts, everybody.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Craig Maxfield. I am actually not a resident of Clare County. I drove in 174 miles to come here and show support for keeping your airport open. I am a pilot of approximately 15 years, or sorry, 10 years. I would have been at the fly-in on Saturday if the weather had been better. Unfortunately, I'm not an IFR rated pilot. Couldn't get on my own airport, never mind come here. But I wanted to come here specifically to show support for your airport. I have flown into it before. I plan on continuing to do that and supporting the local residents, the local businesses, the restaurants. And it's a great community, and I really would like to see the airport with its grant, have a successful grant and to be funded. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kelly Harrison. I'm a resident of Clare County, and I just want to speak on the airport. I just have a few different random observations. So for community impact, I think most residents will see no direct benefit from the airport. Major businesses like tier one automotive companies primarily use Detroit airports, not local ones. The hangar usage, I think that it needs to be exclusive for aviation purposes, housing planes. I don't really know if it is exclusive for that right now. I know that the cost of our hangars is much lower than any other airport. Restaurant considerations, I've heard a lot about the restaurant. I love the restaurant, great food. It's always busy every time I go in there. Last time I was in there for 3 hours, there was one pilot. The themed restaurant success is secondary to the county interests. Leasing decisions carry inherent risks for proprietors, so I think she benefits from the fact that she's called an airport restaurant and she gets traffic because of that. The same, she holds the risk if something were to happen and close the airport, then she holds that risk because that's the building she's in. If the restaurant is profitable, I would hope that the county, and we keep the airport, I would hope that the county considers building additional leasable structures. And if not, I would hope that they evaluate the rent increases for that building. The county well-being, not the individual business success, should drive the decisions. Regarding the economic impact, restaurant income, which can be relocated, should not be counted as an airport benefit. The airport supports few jobs and lacks demands from local businesses. Revenue diversification, I think that you should develop non-aviation facilities, I don't know, business park, hotel, event space on airport land if that's permissible. It was great. The fly-in, I think, is a great thing. Yeah, hopefully they could host community events like car shows to boost visibility and revenue. On the FAA and NPIAS and the funding, NPIAS airports are eligible for AIP grants, and they usually require at least 10 based aircraft and significant economic contributions. The 20 to 30 mile guideline prevents redundant funding, ensuring efficient resource allocation within the national airspace system. So I hope that the board recognizes that that designation, and whether you are or not, is to help you not spend money that's not efficient. Let's see, and I know that Gabe had looked into that last August, and I haven't seen an update anywhere as to if there was an exception. It just didn't seem like it would be easy to get an exception. And the last thing, recent committee efforts and funding concerns. The airport committee organized the fly-in It was launched on Facebook in April of 2025 to promote the airport. These efforts, while positive, seem reactive, initiated only after facing community skepticism. Consistent engagement over the years would have fostered greater support. The Michigan Airport System Plan allocated $4 million in 2025 to 33 airports for 44 projects, selected from 97 applications totaling $10.5 million.
We're gonna have to ask you to wrap it up soon.
Yep. Yeah, so I just hope that you review the application for the and the grant agreement before making a decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Great, thank you. Brings time to administrators report.
All right, in the spirit of, big agenda, I'll keep this really short. I completed all the post audit reports. And those have been filed with the state and federal government. And then we did finish I just finished the final ARPA report, that's been done. I'm almost done with the 26 budget. So I will be able to present you the budget in June. And currently, we should be about 66.7% expensed for fiscal year 25. We are at 51.47 expensed. So. And that's all we have.
Okay, thank you. We are to Michigan Department of Transportation.
Sorry, the microphone is not working.
Oh, this one?
Neither of them are.
Perfect, I can talk loud.
That one.
That one's working.
Oh, one of them is?
The
Yeah.
one that
Okay,
Kelly's
good.
talking about.
My name is Hillary Hoos. I appreciate you having us here today. I am with the Office of Aeronautics with the Michigan Department of Transportation. I am going to go over the economic benefit assessment for the Harrison County Airport.
I haven't.
All right.
Just let me know.
Okay. So the MDOT Office of Aeronautics, we have a large amount of duties at our office. We administer the AIP program, enforce the Michigan Aeronautics Code, administer the Michigan Tall Structures Act. We inspect and license all Michigan public use airports. We handle airport planning and zoning along with emerging aviation, and our overall goal is to promote aviation safety. General aviation is everything other than commercial air service and military. When we look at Michigan's general aviation, we typically see ag spraying, emergency and medical operations, firefighting, flight training, aerial photography, as well as personal and business travel. This is a quick snapshot of Clare County's Part 77 protections. These protections are an FAA Code of Federal Regulations. So these consist of height recommendations for structures being built or temporary structures going up around the airport. So the airport does have these Part 77 height protections. These are awarded to the airport as a airport that is licensed with the state of Michigan. The MDOT Multimodal Economic Benefit Analysis Platform has a suite of analysis tools that utilize the methodology, data, and processes that enable MDOT as a whole to conduct EVAs for all modes of transportation. These modes include highway and bridge, passenger transportation, aviation, active transportation, and rail freight passenger. We developed a standard set of analysis and methods. And with these, MDOT can look deeper into the financial savings and have greater transparency and understanding of the limited resources that are available in our state. The calculations that I've used and the system is used in this EVA platform are created using in-plan data. This is the impact analysis for planning data, and it is a comprehensive regional economic database and analysis tool. Data in plan is compiled from numerous sources, including the Bureau of Labor Statistics, U.S. Census Bureau, and the Bureau of Economic Analysis, among other areas. MDOT runs these impacts using a very conservative induced formula compared to other states' calculations. On the screen here are the characteristics of Clare County Airport. The airport has a runway length of 2,978 feet. The airport currently has 8 base aircraft. Although only half of these aircraft are airworthy, all 8 are filling the hangars and producing that income for the airport. Hangar rent is going to be the only operating budget that we use in the current calculation. This is the section of Clare County's airport's economic benefit assessment. EVA worksheets were completed by airport managers to identify economic indicators and activities that occur at each local airport. Under direct effect, at the top, you'll see on airport. This represents activities that occur on the airport grounds. At Clare County, we have airport manager and the equivalent of 10 full-time staff at the restaurant. This equals our 11 positions for on airport. On airport not air related was calculated at 1 full-time position doing miscellaneous work and construction at the airport throughout the year. So you see the jobs, and then the labor income is that salary that is associated with that position. So for the 1 full-time position doing miscellaneous work, the system allocated $34,000 as an annual salary for that position, and that also includes any benefits that come with that position. The off-site supported by visitor spending impacts include expenditures made by air travelers who are visiting. This amount was estimated at $20 per person or for the price of a meal at the restaurant. Labor income refers to payroll, and that is again the amount of money the jobs earned in a calendar year as well as benefits. So the output line on the right refers to the economic impact that these positions and spending generate both locally and statewide. In our output here, the Clare County Airport has a direct local output of over $967,000 locally, with a statewide output impact of over 1 million. When we add in the multiplier effect, these indirect impacts reflect the cycling of dollars or the trickle-down effect. Through both the local and state economies, the core concept behind this is that money is spent in the economy does not disappear. Rather, they move in successive rounds until exported from the region and the state. They circulate among other industry sectors, creating waves of respending effects. This gives us the full impact of each dollar that is generated due to your local airport. A total of over $2.2 million of state economic impact is created by your airport. Clare County Airport shows a current annual operating budget of $9,600, which is the hangar rent. When looking at your direct local output, so those that stays within the community of $967,000, the airport proves to be a worthwhile economic generator. The Clare County Airports had discussions with local businesses interested in coming to the airport. 2 businesses interested include a business that builds race engines and a military helicopter salvage business. This section of the EVA shows a scenario worksheet with the inclusion of an annual operating budget of $29,600. So the $20,000 from the city and then the hangar rent, and as well as the new businesses. We added 2 positions in aircraft maintenance and repair, and added 3 positions in manufacturing. We also included 2 positions in transportation due to the multimodal program. In this scenario, the Clare County Airport would have a direct output of over $3.42 million statewide. With an annual operating budget of $29,600 used in this calculation, Clare County could have an overall economic impact of almost $6.5 million statewide. This scenario does not take into account any future grants or projects that would also create jobs at the airport. So how does this amount compare to your nearby airports? On the left side, we have Harrison as it currently sits. And then our scenario for Harrison next to Elma and Houghton Lake. The blue here is that direct effect, and the orange includes the multiplier effect. Airport projects in the last 5 years, under $15,000 of local funds have gone towards the airport for airport improvements. These are the last few projects at the airport from 2022. We had some crack sealing, again, some crack sealing in 23, and then crack sealing and paint marking in 2024. House Bill 747, Section 1101 appropriated $4 million for capital development projects at airports in Michigan. Michigan airports competed for the funding by submitting plans, schedules, and bids on proposed projects. Clare County Airport submitted a maintenance request for $3,000 or 3,000 feet of crack sealing. A capital improvement request was submitted for installation of improved airport lightings for runway 1836. The improved lighting consists of proper bulbs, colored outer lenses, base cans, and transformers to replace the non-standard lighting. The request also included a primary internally lit wind cone. Although the total cost for this project was about $353,000, the airport committee was able to reduce this amount by $98,000 by recycling used lighting from other airports. They were able to secure free donated labor for light removal and ground restoration, and a local resident has pledged $5,000 towards this project. The requests to the state were received with multiple letters of support from your locals, showing just how much this airport means to the community. Clare County was selected by the Office of Aeronautics to receive funding for the airfield lighting updates in the amount of $250,000 and crack sealing in the amount of $4,806. Your community is very fortunate to have an airport, and if you lose this airport, it is very unlikely that another will be able to be licensed. This is my contact information, and then Kelly Badra, also at our office, helps with the economic benefit assessments. So if you have any questions regarding those, you can reach out to either of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Community mental health, Brian.
Morning, everybody. Got a handout. Yes, I've got 10 copies, so hopefully. Good to be with you all again. Typically, myself and our Chief Clinical Officer for Clare County, Sarah Sally Sorensen, comes in, later summer, early fall to present kind of the update and happenings of community mental health for Central Michigan and Clare County. So Clare County is one of 6 that our agency serves. And what I'd like to talk with you about this morning is a resolution that would serve to oppose a current effort by the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services to initiate a procurement effort of the state's prepaid inpatient health plans. And what I have in the packet for you today are a number of documents, the resolution itself, the MDHHS press release that occurred back in February. I included a sheet that is from the Michigan Association of Counties. They provided a legislative update back in April. In the middle there, you'll see their expression of concerns that this effort could pave the way for the privatization of Michigan's public mental health system. There's also a infographic from our statewide association, that is the Community Mental Health Association of Michigan, titled Protecting People Over Profit, and just gives some data and some information expressing concern over this effort as well. And then the last page is a map of the current PIHP structure that is in Michigan. There are currently 10 prepaid inpatient health plans across the state. And we don't know yet what the intended outcome of a reprocurement might be. And so with the uncertainty that this brings forward and what we believe to be distraction and disruption, we are, as an agency, as a statewide association, seeking to oppose this effort, or at least if there is a procurement that does proceed, that the qualifications for the entities that are able to bid on that be entities that do have experience managing Michigan's public mental health system. Our concern is that under a potential for privatization, that organizations that really don't have the expertise or the understanding of the community-based system that we have. The other concern is the eroding of local control. Right now, we have meetings such as this, Open Meetings Act. Our board, and I appreciate and want to acknowledge Commissioner Gilmore for his representing Clare County on our board, are all under the Open Meetings Act. And just like we had public comment here today, our board has public comment. So members of Clare community or Macossack, County or Midland County, whichever, may come and express concern and advocate for their needs. That's not necessarily a given under a private system where organizations that may be even nonprofit, but some for-profit, don't have those same requirements. So in looking at this resolution, discusses the value that the current PIHP system demonstrates in some of those aspects around accountability and community engagement, recognizing that the MDHHS's announcement about a plan to competitively procure the management of the Medicaid managed care system, the public system, whereas such privatization could disrupt the longstanding relationships between local mental health authorities, providers, and communities they serve, and jeopardize the person-centered, recovery-oriented approach that's been cultivated under the public system. For many years, by the way, we've had a system of over 50 years. And we think that the public system is one that treats individuals first. There is no profit motive with respect to serving the vulnerable individuals in our communities. And so we stand strong in really striving to make sure that whatever occurs remains as a public system. And there are numerous legal infrastructure that is embedded within the Michigan Mental Health Code around the public system for Michigan and their responsibilities that are associated with both the state and local governments. And the last whereas that's on there, and I haven't read them all, but I'm giving you a flavor of all of this. Whereas maintaining a publicly accountable, locally governed behavioral health system is essential to ensuring that individuals with mental health and substance use needs receive timely, appropriate, and high quality care. And so then there's the standard resolutions, or may it be resolved with respect to this, and that be it further resolved that the board urges Governor Whitmer, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, the Michigan legislator to halt any plans for privatization and instead work collaboratively with counties, PIHPs, community mental health service programs, service users, and other stakeholders to strengthen and improve the public behavioral health systems by only allowing public organizations with experience in managing Michigan's public mental health system to be part of any bid process should one occur. You know, here in Clare, our operating budget is $16.5 million annually. Clare County pays to our board local appropriation of $139,000 a year. So it's a amazing investment, amazing that, you know, most of those funds are Medicaid dollars that do get funneled through that PIHP system. And as I noted, there are 10, we're associated with an organization called Mid-State Health Network. And we are a group of 12 mental health agencies that form that organization. And we believe that we operate effectively. And so I appreciate sharing this information to give you a sense of the issue from our perspective behind this, and you know, ask for your consideration for adopting this resolution.
Thanks, Brian. As our representative on the Community Mental Health Board, I would like to move that we approve this resolution, number 2511, opposing the privatization of mental health services program. I see firsthand what a good job they do at our monthly meetings, and they really are well organized with a lot of work into making sure our community mental health program is effective.
I did have a question really
Yeah,
quick.
yeah.
So right now, because I've been going down as part of the community or the Clare County representative for Mid-State's Board for Policy for the Substance Use Disorder down in Lansing.
Yes.
I know they've been talking about that down there, and one of the questions was if we go to privatization for this, what happens to like the 40% of the alcohol tax that goes towards mental health and stuff for Mid-State? Does that go to a private company then to be used for mental health, or how would that be affected?
I think that's possible. What I probably aren't able to answer is some of the dynamics of like the other like public to funds and so forth. And you know, it's primarily a Medicaid portion. And so I believe typically the Medicaid portion for Mid-State and the SUD, typically it had been around 25%. And so that portion certainly would be, I think, up for privatization situation.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question, Jacob. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You talk about Medicaid being a major contributor to it. And it looks like there could possibly be some pretty big cuts in Medicaid. What do you think about that? I mean, how would we replace that?
It's a you know, very significant concern that we have. And that's just another aspect of with the federal level issues going on, to then try to, you know, throw this in the midst of that just adds to that further potential disruption to our system. That would be very detrimental if there are cuts to the Medicaid program. Like I said, 93% of our revenue source is from Medicaid. And so to the degree that those cuts take place, it will really have a potential to erode what services we are able to provide. It's very concerning, and
93%.
93% of our revenue is from Medicaid. Yeah, and you know, one of the things that some of the Medicaid health plans will tout, because this is a lot of money statewide. The MDHHS's budget for behavioral health services is close to $4 billion. And so the Medicaid health plans are looking at that revenue source. There's a term called the medical loss ratio in managed care terminology. And what that is a factor or a percentage saying, okay, of those dollars that you receive, how much actually gets to the individuals for service delivery and how much is just going to administrative costs. So the Medicaid health plans typically have about a 85% medical loss ratio, meaning that 85% of the dollars gets to service delivery, about 15% is held for their administrative costs or other costs. The PIHP system is around 6%. And so if statewide, this whole system goes to a privatization system, the potential is that, and the dollars estimated are $300 to $400 million is lost just from that standpoint alone, in terms of that percentage, if that's, the group, the Medicaid health plans take this on and they have that kind of medical loss ratio versus the PHP system. We think that the PHP system manages public mental health system efficiently in Michigan.
Is that money come directly from the beds or is it filtered through the state?
It does filter through the state. So the Medicaid program is a federal and state partnership. And so the dollars, there's what's called a FMAP, or a federal matching percentage. And so in Michigan, it's generally about 65%, 35. So 65 fed, 35% state. Except for the Healthy Michigan plan, which is the expansion, and maybe you've read about all these kinds of things that are in the news. It's a 90-10%, a 90% federal, 10% state for the expansion program for Medicaid. So all of those things we're trying to decipher what's going to actually happen as things play out politically. But yeah, we're watching it very carefully, and we are concerned about that.
Thank you.
Is there any projection on a timeline on when things might clarify with what the fallout from this transition would be? Because I know right now it's pretty much everybody's like, no idea what's going to happen. Is there any kind of clarity coming from?
I've not heard any, I mean, in terms of federal timeframes, obviously the House Energy and Commerce Committee just passed it through their committee. And now maybe the end of this month. So fairly soon, they're trying to have those votes occur through the House. And so we'll see if there's any clarity about what happens. But Michigan's budget for fiscal year 2026, typically they have the July 1st deadline date, but that's not, a required date. It's kind of just their set date. But what I'm hearing is that the state's not going to get an approved budget probably until September, sometime in September this year. So how things play out and the impact that it has for our budget, say starting October 1st, it'll be a little while yet.
Oh,
Any other questions from Brian?
Yeah, I have one, Mr. Chair. In the MDHHS handout that you gave us, in their press release, they referenced an online survey that was due by the end of March. Has there been any feedback? Have you seen any of the results of that online survey? Because that, by their news release says the records were enrolled in this program.
Right, yes, we have not seen the detail. I was just at a meeting today. With our association, the CMH Association of Michigan, they've actually made a FOIA request with the department to be able to obtain that information. Because we really do want to hear and see what does the public really think and what's their feedback on this. So we're trying to get that.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Rankin,
Yes.
Ross,
yes.
Hoagland,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Urias,
Yes.
Yes.
Houseworth,
Yes.
Meinhardt,
Yes.
Haskell.
Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you for your support.
Thanks, Brian. Direction.
So in addition to Judge Hubby, Charlie Petro, and I, we got Molly Maynard and Robert George in the gathering here. They came up from the state office of community for our bid today, and they're present in case you have questions that we can't answer. So community corrections is governed by statute. It's governed by Public Act 511, and that statute outlines the parameters of what a community corrections program is, what the goals for that program is for. And it also establishes, the members, statutory members of the advisory board. And it allows for a local, one county board or a regional board. And we're here to talk to you about the regional board between Clare and Gladwin counties that we'd like to establish. So for a community corrections program, it has to provide appropriate sanctions and services with a goal of reducing occurrence of repeat criminal offenses that result in incarceration. And it has to be using evidence-based practices to protect the public while offering rehabilitation to the offenders that come through. And programs similar to this across the state, Marquette has got a robust program. They offer pretrial services, opioid med-specific services, domestic violence services. Midland also has a very robust program. Kalamazoo has got a large program. And so, and other smaller communities have these programs as well. And the state owns the program entirely. So it is state appropriated money that goes to the Office of Community Corrections. Then courts apply for grants through them for the community corrections program. And we have been working with Ms. Maynard closely to prepare our plan and our application, which is due June 1st. So we are currently focusing just on a very small part of the community corrections. We're focusing on a pretrial services program. And as Administrator Phelps will tell you, we have been focus groups with the stakeholders in the criminal justice system to talk about what are our needs, especially when we're looking to see how to spend the opioid money. And it's a resounding pretrial services. Currently, what happens is individuals are coming in, they're being placed on bond when they're arraigned, and then they're going out into the public if they're posting bond, and they have certain conditions. It might be to drug test, to not have contact with the victim, a myriad of things. They might be on scram, no alcohol, no drug use. And once we send them out into the community, there is nobody who is monitoring them. No one. And so there are times, and Judge Hubby can tell you, that we get to sentencing and you find that this person has been out on bond for a year. They were supposed to have signed up for color code testing. And you learn that they never signed up. And so the purpose of the pretrial services is to connect anybody who's charged with a felony, who's being arraigned, with a director who will get them through the process. So they will do a praxis assessment, which will initially show what level of supervision are they going to need on pretrial. They will make recommendations to the magistrate. Those conditions will be put in place, and then the person will monitor them to make sure that they're signing up for the color code of its order, to make sure that they're getting the GPS tether or the scram tether, or they're doing the drug testing that they're supposed to do. And if they aren't, then they are making regular reports to the court. So we are directly monitoring, and it's supposed to help reduce recidivism and to keep people from committing more crimes. This person would also refer them out to needed and identified services in our community that aren't part of our program. So they could send them to TriCap, or say you need to go to 1016 for these services, or counseling services for domestic violence. So they can push them out to those services. And this position is not going to compete with the position that Judge Farrell is here to talk about under the opioid money and recovery court. It will complement. So it adds additional services to make sure that we're hitting everyone that needs to be done, and not just certain subsets. And so we've identified that we would need one person for this position. And again, that position is covered entirely by the statute. They cover the healthcare costs, the fringe costs, the salary. I mean, that pays for everything. There is no money that comes out of the county budget Unless, of course, there would be some sort of separation and there might be some unemployment. Then that comes to the county, but then it would be shared between Clare and Gladwin counties. The Gladwin County Board of Commissioners has already approved us to apply for this, and they are on board. They voted for the resolution and voted for the slate of individuals. That slate of individuals has grown since their meeting on May 13th. For people who are involved in the board. And I'm gonna tell you, we had more people than we had slots for. So we have a lot of support from all of the stakeholders, and I think that says a lot about the program, the need, and the desire for us in the system to have this tool in our toolbox as we move forward.
No, my experience for the last couple of years at sentencing has been, they appear in front of me and, you know, they're here for possession of meth. And I look down and they were supposed to be doing drug testing and they never signed up, or they signed up, they tested positive 3 times, got kicked out of the system. And then just went on and about their merry way. There was no bond violation paperwork filed. There was nobody to alert the court that it wasn't happening. And so we've let them flail around in the system. Most of them turn around and pick up additional charges and they just keep stacking it. And it's like a train ride straight to prison. And this program is designed to help stop that, to keep them from going to prison, to lower our numbers there. More importantly, it's to help our people. We have so many people with meth issues in this county, or drug issues in general. We don't have services. We don't have help for them. And so this is a way to get those services available faster for people and maybe change what's going on. I'd also tell you, because this is my pet peeve, this grant has been available since 1988, and all we had to do was put together this board, create the bylaws, and apply for the money. And this is the first time that Clare and Gladwin County have applied for this. So I started this a couple of years ago. You've probably all heard me talk about it. I got it kind of framed out, and then I said to Judge Ambrositis, I don't know, about 6 weeks ago, I said, oh, the next project we got to work on is this, so we can get ready for next year to apply. And she looked at it and said, we can do that this year. And so she took it on and has done just amazing, jumping in with both feet, meeting with the state and helping get it ready to go. And so we'd like your permission to apply for that. We'd like you to approve the board so that we can move forward. Any questions?
Okay, thank you. Gabe, would you like to start the first motion?
Sure. That's 9A.
Yes.
Motion to approve resolution 25-10. In support of the Clare and Gladwin Community Corrections to apply for the fiscal year 2026 Community Corrections Grant as presented.
I'll second.
Is there any further discussion on that? Or questions for the judges?
I did have a question. There's a revised list for the board that we were handed out right before the meeting.
That's different. Oh, okay, no, go ahead.
Is that, I noticed that there's no, like, there's a Gladwin commissioner, and that I noticed there's no Claire.
There will, you'll vote on that.
There will be.
Okay, that's okay.
To the list.
Okay, that was
It's on the
perfect.
motion. It's on the motion.
Okay.
Motion's down.
Perfect.
Okay, roll call, please.
Maxwell,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Einhardt,
Yes.
Majeski,
Yes.
Ambrositis.
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
Holden.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Marlene.
To approve the appointments as presented to a 1-year term to the Regional Advisory Board with which fulfills the requirements of PA 511 of 1988.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Great.
Appoint commissioners of Pascal to serve as the county commissioner, primary designing commissioner Jake Gross as the county commissioner, alternate to the community correction regional advisory board.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Jeff as our representative and Jacob as the alternate. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Wonderful, thank you so much for your time.
I'll give a copy of this resolution to you. Thanks, Jesus.
Okay, Jeff. Sure, okay.
I did put a bunch of information in the administrator's notes as well.
Good morning. Good morning.
Morning, Josh.
How's everyone doing? Good to see you.
First of all, let me state as the chief judge, I do fully support the program that Judge Huffy and Judge Ambrositis are following through with. I had a lot of experience working with PA 511. In fact, I think the only one that may still be around is Mr. Kleinhardt. When about 15 years ago, I looked at creating that program. But at the time, we didn't have a lot of buy-in from the two circuit judges. So I would have been predominantly taking on all of the felony matters when I had my own docket. And so it's good to see that that program is now being brought to the community at little or no expense to us here locally. So I do support their efforts with that, but I do think it's important to understand, as I think Judge Ambrositis indicated, that the program that we currently have and are very proud of, and I've spoken many times to this board about, is our recovery court program established in 2011. We now are proud to state that we're certified Veterans Treatment Court. We're a certified misdemeanor, felony, alcohol, drugs, and recovery court program. We have the largest number of participants in that program as well. We have received nearly $1.5 million in grants for our program. We are now state certified for both programs. We're actually also a mentor court program, so we train programs throughout the state of Michigan that are beginning new programs. When we started, we had about 20 in the state, and now there are over 250. And so the reason that I'm here today is to explain what we are hoping to expand upon what we've had. We just recently replaced administration for our recovery court coordinator. And as the previous judge has indicated, I think Mrs. Phelps has been intricately intertwined with this, is that we have discovered the necessity to fill some gaps that the community had. And what we primarily work with is the individuals' misdemeanor felonies that are substance abuse related. The other judges will be carrying gaps in pretrial services for folks that work through, not necessarily on the substance abuse matters, which we will be monitoring. And so the two programs complement one another, and it's very important that they don't cross lanes. If they do, then you begin competing for similar funds. So what we hope to do is provide the expansion of our director to involve additional things. When we talked about the opioid crisis, when the studies were completed and the funds began to come in, what we discovered in our community is we would have moms and dads and employers and brothers and sisters that would call and say, we hear you have this great program, Judge Farrell, but my son or daughter that's struggling or has overdosed, they're not in trouble yet. So what do we do? And that was a gap. And so what we hope to do with the expansion of this director position is simply be able to provide individuals that are not necessarily even in the criminal justice system the assistance they need. And then the judges talked a little bit about this, and there's some differences. But when the people are charged, what we also discovered, they're going to be working on their program. What we are going to focus on is anyone that's charged with fentanyl, methamphetamine, prescription drugs, alcohol. We will monitor them throughout the system as well. Typically, our program kicks in as soon as the person enters the plea and is sentenced. They come into our recovery court. They're with us for a couple of years. So our goal is to fill the gap with individuals in the community that are not charged, so we can provide assistance to them, their families and services. Once they're in the system, we'll track the substance abuse offenders. So thereby closing the gap of the individuals that Judge Ambrositis and Judge Hovey are servicing, our program will continue to service those folks. This is not a new position per se, it's just an expansion of the roles to fill the gaps that were identified in the opioid studies. And so I'm here, proud as I can be of the program and the individuals that we serve. This board and the Gladwin board have supported this program financially for 14 years. And we are as busy as we can be right now with the number of participants. We just hosted another graduation ceremony where nearly 150 graduates from the program. And so I'm here on their behalf and our entire team that we have, which is similar to the team that the Community Corrections Board has. We have stakeholders from all throughout the community assisting us. So I'm here to seek your support for the expansion of that position. And if approved, obviously we will move very quickly to replace our recovery coordinator with the added duties.
So Clare County was awarded approximately, it comes out to about $50,000 a year for the next 18 years through the National Opioid Settlement Agreements. To ensure these funds were used effectively, are going to be used effectively in alignment with community needs. We held stakeholder meetings. Eventually, we ended up doing it jointly with Gladwin County because we share all of the same service programs, the service providers, and community partners. And through these collaborative discussions for the last year and a half, almost 2 years, the most critical gap in services identified within the pre-conviction and post-arrest services, specifically the need for early intervention and support for individuals with substance use disorders who are in the criminal justice system. Addressing this gap has the potential to significantly improve outcomes for individuals struggling with addiction, while also enhancing public safety and reducing system costs. So what we're asking to do is to utilize those opioid dollars to grow the recovery court program.
Any questions for Josh?
Yeah, I have a couple. I want to tell you, I think you do a fantastic job of the recovery court. I think it does just excellent. It helps the community a lot. The presentations that I have seen on the opiate dollars, and it's just been a couple, was supposedly, I thought, geared towards education and pre-prevention. Like there was some talk about putting together teams to go into the schools and tell people. Would it be safe to say there's a lot of families out here struggling with substance abuse that you never come in contact with because they haven't been through the court system?
That's the largest gap in our community. I think that whether it's Clare County, Gladwin County, or any of the 83 counties nationwide, the epidemic of opioids is evident everywhere. But the sad part for each community is that people paint a picture of who an addict is or an alcoholic, and that demographics is just simply not true. So some of the wealthiest people in this community have been through our program, some of the poorest, every race, gender, and what I discovered is that, not to bring the momentum of the meeting down, but there are two stories that, are absolutely awful. We had a young man, 19 years old, and a female that a lot of people in this community know. She was 31, both scheduled to come into our program, and both overdosed. One the night before she was supposed to come into the program. She did not survive, and neither did he. He died in a hotel room, taking care of his two young siblings to get to school because the parents were pieces, what. And so what we discovered was that there are a lot of families that are struggling, and the families that are struggling aren't bad people. But it's affecting their employment in the community, it's affecting everything that they do. And so what we discovered, as Mrs. Phelps indicated, is that we have families that want assistance, but they don't know where to turn and they don't know what to do. And sure, I can say, well, gosh, if your son or daughter commits a crime, then we can help them. Well, that's counterintuitive to what we should be doing. So the expansion of this role allows our director to get into the schools, provide brochures, provide information, talk to individuals about their problems. So that if Mr. Kleinhardt has a family member that calls and says, my grandson or granddaughter is having problems, hasn't been charged, we can then utilize this person to speak with them because we have the funds, we have the services, and we can provide them the guidance. Typically now, because our person is quote, a court employee, they don't have that ability. They can't talk to folks to do those things because it's geared all towards court interaction. So what you've mentioned is extremely important, getting information to the schools, getting into the schools, and being able to talk to families and direct them to the proper services before they get in trouble. The best thing that can happen to the recovery court program is I work myself out of the program, or I work myself out of a job. Is that's the goal. If we can impact before you get into the criminal justice system, I'd love someday to be able to come to the board and say, unfortunately, we don't need the program anymore because we're being so successful pre-involvement to the criminal justice. I know that's not going to happen, but we need to help those folks that are struggling before they get into trouble.
Do you think a lot of families would be a little bit afraid to call somebody involved in the court system to be able to ask for help? They don't want to put the finger on their loved ones or whatever. Those are the people out there that are struggling with family abuse and that kind of stuff. How can you address that?
Well, when I meet with the parents or the children of the addict or the alcoholic, when they come into the program, the entire family's devastated, broken, they've separated, they're out of employment, they've suffered calls to 911 because of overdose. And typically about the time that people are at their last wit's end or not knowing what to do, that's actually when they do reach out. So I think that there's two ways that you can approach that. You're always going to have the individuals in the community that are fearful because there are folks that say, well, geez, if I call about my child or my grandson or my sister, then the police are going to show up and arrest them. That's completely the opposite of what we engage with our local law enforcement agencies. If people call for help, we have the opportunity to give them the assistance. But you're gonna have some in the community that will not call. So what we can do is, whether you say it covertly or not, is you're passing information out to the community that maybe is not there now. So the folks that don't reach out will still have the information. The folks that reach out before they're involved in the criminal justice system, we can help them as well. So I think it is twofold, but we receive an amazing amount of calls every single week to the court saying, my son, my daughter has a problem and I don't know what to do. And I think that's the largest gap in our community is, as a judge, it's difficult because you're saying, well, geez, the judge, you only deal with criminal cases once they're filed, but you see all of these people that need the help before. So to answer your question, I think it's two things. One, getting information to people that maybe are fearful of reaching out, but two, helping the ones that do reach out that are not in the criminal justice system.
Okay, one last question. Do you have anybody in your program that works for you that's recovering themselves?
I do. One of our graduates is actually now an employee of ours. She's a young lady with 4 children from the Farwell area, and she's absolutely amazing. We have graduates for those that served in the military. We actually have certified veteran mentors now, combat, traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder, combat related injuries. I have a veteran coming in, lost his leg during combat. All of these individuals give back. Many of our graduates are now leaders in the community. Some of our graduates have run for this office that you serve. Some of our graduates now own businesses. Our graduates have in turn come back. They speak to us. One of our most recent graduates just received state certification to be a peer mentor. He's now going to be going into and has approval from the sheriff's department. He'll be leading group meetings in the jail for folks to transition from doing whatever their quote time is to transitioning. They'll be getting the assistance in the jail and they go out in the community. That's a graduate of our program. Several of our graduates are now veteran mentors for our current veterans. These folks that go through the program, most, not all, some do their business, they go through and they go about, most feel that they owe something back. And so it's absolutely incredible. If any of you ever have an opportunity to witness our graduation ceremonies, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So, yeah, so they do give back.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Do you find, oh, go ahead. Oh, do you find that there's more cases of people that have been prescribed opioids that then get addicted because of that prescription of the medications than people that find it from other sources or from people that have been prescribed in lifting pills?
Yeah, great question. For one of the first times in the last 20 some years, opioid deaths are finally on the decline. Change in prescription methodology has impacted that, where people used to maybe be able to get 90-day prescriptions and now limited to 30. That's having a big impact. But the biggest myth in this world is that drug addicts and alcoholics are just, that's just their deal. 73% of every prescription pill addict in this country starts from a dental or medical procedure. And it's a proven fact. So usually our young folks or our old folks aren't initially going right to an opioid and say, geez, I want to get involved with fentanyl or cocaine or prescription drugs because it makes me feel good. Usually it's a knee surgery, hip surgery, dental procedure where the pain is so excruciating and they get on these prescriptions and most of them want to stop, but the functionality in the brain, they just literally can't. It's destroying, I mean, I can get into the physiological, but it actually destroys the sensors in the brain that allow you to basically say no. The same with an 18 to 25-year-old that, myself included probably, but when we're young, we make stupid decisions. There's a part of the brain that isn't fully developed. Same occurs with the addicts. Now, people will say, well, okay, so they're an addict, they affect our community, so throw them in jail and they won't be an addict. The problem is 85% of every individual that's released from the jail on a substance abuse offense will reoffend within 90 days. So not only do we pay for them to stay, but when they get out, then we pay for them again. So we have to, as a community, train our brains to do something different, because doing the same thing, expecting different results, we all know is insanity. So you offend, you put them in jail, they reoffend, you put them in jail. And it drives law enforcement crazy. So being able to do something different, and that's why we track as part of our program, recidivism rates, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, 4 years post-graduation. And we have our program, again, bragging about our program, we have one of the highest success rates of any program in the state. And that's why we're chosen as a mentor program now. Because being able to do things differently and have great results, our recidivism rates are some of the lowest in the states for people reoffending.
So this would then be an expansion to provide the ability for people that do get prescribed for some sort of pain-related surgery or medical incident and are prescribed the medications and then may want to quit but not able to, where they haven't committed any crimes.
Absolutely.
This is where this would be a big part for those 70% of people that.
Yeah, our resources will now allow us to reach a bigger population base than what we could, where we were just focused on folks that were in the system. But if we have this director that can utilize opioid funds and our grant funds as well in combination to be able to find that person, or if that person reaches out to us, we can point them in the correct directions, point them in the directions of substance abuse assessments, treatment services available. If the addiction is severe enough, we have direct contact with the state licensing board and the state funding to get them potentially into inpatient treatment if that's a possibility as well.
Is there ever a potential path for being able to, with privacy, medical privacy issues, is there ever a potential path for being able to get to people in the places where they're getting prescribed the medication, like as they get their medication and their prescription from dental or medical facilities, providing pamphlets and information and things like that in those settings where they're getting
It's a
the?
really good question. Due to the HIPAA protections, obviously, you have some safeguards, and that's a good thing for patients. On the other hand, the community collaboration is one of the roles of this expanded position, is that we already work with several physicians in the area for medication assisted treatment. But this will allow us to collaborate with those offices, not in a criminal versus non-criminal component, but to say we now have a community director. So if you have a patient that has difficulty and they sign the appropriate releases, then we can direct them to the services that best suit their needs.
Beautiful. And then on like
Yeah.
follow-ups and things for those
Follow-ups,
appointments, they'd be
absolutely.
able to point them in that direction if they're noticing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's our goal. It's something we've wanted to do, and you hate to take advantage of a bad situation, but everyone thought, well, COVID was awful. There have been positive things in our court system that have saved this county a lot of money with video conferencing and not doing that. So the same is true with the addiction and this type of program, is that based on bad decisions by major corporations for years, it has brought a lot of funds to our community, and we can take advantage because the community has to use the money. And if you use it appropriately, then this allows us to do something that we've never been able to do in the last 14 years of our recovery court program.
How much of the opioid settlement funds that we have coming in are going to go towards this program and that are going to utilize, and how much are we utilizing already that limits how much we were able to put into programs like this?
Yeah, so Mrs. Phelps and I have had numerous discussions about this. I'm already pleased to announce that I'll be working on our regular grant through the state and federal government that's due on June 20th. We've already, because of our success rates, received a target award of $97,000 for the recovery court. I believe $17,000 for our veterans treatment court. 7,500 commitment from this county, 5,000 in Gladwin. Each participant pays 600. So the opioid funds, going back to your question, we don't come to this board to say, give us all of that money, because there are other things that Mrs. Phelps and I have worked on that she'll talk to you about, as far as I think it was the
Medical
examiner. Thank you. So utilization of those opioid funds in a myriad of different ways is important. So I'm in no way coming to say, give us all 50,000. All that we're saying is, if there's a need, then we can supplement funds. We have a large share of funds. The exact amount, I think, is not determined yet, because we're only halfway through our fiscal year for the program. And so it'll be a moving number, but I would anticipate, I don't know, 15,000-20,000 or so.
Yeah, maybe more.
Yeah.
We don't want to go over the $50,000 a year, of course. I mean, we do have money that we've been receiving.
Yeah, I do notice there is a little bit of a surplus in the account.
Yeah. But what we want to do is go for about a year so that we have an idea. So we know how many hours that person's putting into what it's going to take. And then we can revisit and, basically do a wage study for that year and see how that's going. And then revisit how much money we're gonna need for that position.
And year one will be a good test, because with any new, and I don't want to say new because we have the program, the expansion cost will be in development for year one to see exactly how far. My goal would be a year from now, come back and say, here's the great success that we've had in year one. please allow more funds to be utilized because we've built up that surplus. But the year and a half that we've been working on deciding where the money goes has been a lot of work. But we're now at that point to say, let's utilize those funds, revisit it next year. And then I hope to share the same success stories as our recovery report, by coming back and saying, look at these stories that we now have, let's expand greater, and maybe it does utilize more funds.
So does this lock the opioid funds that are part of this into just the non-criminal portion, or is it supplementing the entire recovery court program?
You can act both, yeah, yeah.
Okay, so it'll be anywhere that's needed in order to.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and they're restricted, the funds are restricted, so, you know, we
Well,
have
that
to
was my
report on
concern
the
is-
opioid dollars, just like the recovery court funds are restricted. And the veterans' money is restricted. So somebody can't spend 2 hours working with somebody in the community and then bill their hours to the veterans funds.
But it would allow for you to be able to take
Correct.
the money that is for general purposes and apply for that, whereas, or supplement something else to allow for more money in the general. Okay.
And I think that we haven't worked out where there, I mean, there's not gonna be any money that'll come out of the general fund
Oh, no,
for the expansion, absolutely none.
yeah. Each year's it's just a new challenge. For instance, I can say to you right now, I wish I had another 100,000 to service our veterans. We started when we were at 0 and we built because maybe at one point we had 1 veteran, then we had 3, then all of a sudden we were 7, 8, and 9. And you have that halfway through your fiscal year and you think, well, 17 grand's not gonna do it. So we do whatever we can to assist, and you know, and it keeps growing each year, which is fantastic. So
This is only for Clare County as opposed to Clare and Gladwin.
this will be both actually. And so I've spoken to Chairperson Moore, and the board there is not requiring us to come back before the board. They have already approved because their share will not increase. And so the utilization of funds over there, obviously, we'll be chatting with them, but it's already in motion for Gladwin County. So it'll continue to serve the same 2 communities throughout.
But the Clare County funds will stay.
Yeah, of course, 2 counties.
One person to count.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I'm sorry, and I missed. Yeah, 1 person, 2 counties, as it's up, as it's been the last 14 years, yeah.
So then the plan after this is, once this is approved, to then move on to going to Gladwin and asking for a similar from their opioid?
Well, that is the goal. I'm not necessarily required to go back to the board for the continuation of the position because it's not an added expense. But I will be obviously.
So it'll be a phase thing, go
It's
through
a
this
phase
and then
thing,
next would be.
exactly, yeah.
But that is the plan for moving forward also is
Absolutely,
to.
and we've already been in talks with Gladwin through their planning as well, and that's what Mrs. Phelps was touching on, is working with the 2 counties together. Serves a better need, I think, working together on that.
I don't know if it helps, Josh, but
Yeah.
Gladwin did put in $20,000 at the end of fiscal year, so it's actually in this 20.
Oh, it's already, okay,
So
so,
Gladwin did contribute some opioid dollars to the recovery court already.
It's awesome.
yeah, it's, both boards have been fantastic throughout. It's, I think I've been here, I don't know how many times over the years, but it's definitely one of the great positive stories that we have, when you go through the board system and just for the community in general. You know, if I could share the names of all 150 graduates in the PPP program, some wouldn't surprise you, some would shock you, but it's pretty amazing to watch.
Did that answer your questions? Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, you're welcome, absolutely.
Jan, would you do the first one now?
I move to approve the expansion of the recovery court program to better address the increasing needs of individuals with opiate use disorder and co-occurring substance use disorders. This expansion will include the development of pretrial services that connect individuals to evidence-based treatment, supporting services, and diversion or deflection strategies prior to the arrest or arraignment. Funding for these efforts will be allocated from the opiate settlement funds.
I'll second it.
Any further discussion on that? Okay, roll call, please.
Rubitis,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yes.
Jesse.
Yep.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Oakley,
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you all very much. I'll share the vote with our participants next week. Thank you all very much.
Okay, our meeting is about halfway through and it's gonna be a long meeting, so why don't we take 5 or 6 minutes if anyone needs a bathroom break, so you don't miss anything. And we'll
Think it'll be used as far as like wear and tear on the cases and the things like that for replacement for the accessories and things.
I don't know, we use them with senior services and the cases are so durable. I mean, they go into all the homes and we actually took the cases off and put them on the new tablets.
Sounds good.
Will you check the sound, Jody?
I did.
Oh, I'm not on.
Hey, Jeff, would you read the next motion, please?
Yeah. Make a motion to approve the use of opioid funds to equip the Clear County Medical Examiner's Office with portable tablet devices for on-scene use in the amount of $8,250 with an annual subscription of $2,000 for the next 5 years.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other questions for Lori that she could answer? Okay, roll call, please.
Majeski,
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Oakley,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yes.
Gross,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Jenkins,
Yes.
and Rubitis.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Jury board appointment.
You have the list in your packet, but the clerk Mott came in and passed out another list, same thing. If you have any questions, she's here to answer those questions.
Chairman, may I say something?
Linda Barkow, there are 2 vacancies. Linda Barkow would like to be reappointed. She is a Democrat. There's currently another Democrat on the jury board. So you must, if you reappoint Linda, you must appoint a Republican. And the list with their political affiliation is in front of you.
The current Democrat that's also on there.
Linda, oh, I don't know who the current one that's on there.
Trees Haley,
Okay, she's not on this list.
correct.
So then this is just for two appointments then of the three, there's one that's staying.
One of the blanks gotta be a
Correct.
The
Republican.
reappointment, yeah, there's a reappointment. If you choose a reappointment.
One.
So. How does the jury board work?
On the jury board, we send out 6,000 jury questionnaires. Open them, organize them. The jury board comes in for usually 2 or 3 days. And they qualify or unqualified based on the statute. And then those questionnaires go back to my staff to enter into the computer. People that didn't answer, we send out a second round and a third round, and then the jury board comes back to qualify or unqualified.
Okay. And those qualifications, are they restricted to specifically just what's based on the questions and that like because I know there's check boxes and then there's the fill in for reasons, or the reasons section, that's what they're going through and evaluating?
Yes, based on statute.
Okay.
And whether they live in the area. Some of them might say they moved or they are over 70 and want to be permanently excused, those types of questions.
Okay, awesome.
What do we do? Okay, I don't know any of the people on this list.
What do you recommend?
I didn't speak with any of them. They just responded to an ad to my staff and there was
Yes,
no
the only
preference.
person I'm familiar with is Deb Spranger. She's the one that lives in Claire. The rest of them, I have no idea.
Is Dave Maxon from Green Township?
Yes,
And then Larry Dahlwell is here from Harrison. I know he's a local guy.
Larry did reach out to me directly and asked to be put on the list. He's the only one I spoke with directly.
Yeah, I would nominate Larry Dahlwell as the Republican.
Second.
Okay.
Can you read the
You
whole?
want to read it as the motion and
If you'd like to, yeah.
please.
Make a motion to appoint Larry Dahlwell for a partial term ending April 30th, 2027. And to reappoint Linda Bartle to the jury board for a 6-year term ending May 31st, 2031.
I'll second.
If they're moved to second, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Gabe.
Well,
This was just routine. It was explained in our board packet. I think it's so that we can collect the cell phone monies.
We have been collecting the cell phone monies, but there was an audit done on the paperwork. You know, the programmatic for dispatch. And there was a resolution missing from 2020. 2020. So this has to be passed. It was already voted on by the board. And it was already passed by the board in 2020 for this assessment. But there was not a resolution that was done or passed, but the resolution has to be, so basically a formality.
It was voted on by the voters.
It was voted on by the voters, yeah.
Jacob, would you take that motion?
Yeah, of course. To approve resolution 2512 to levy increased monthly telephone surcharge for emergency telephone services as approved by the board vote in 2020.
Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Do we have roll call, please?
Oakley,
yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hines.
Yeah.
Haskell,
Yes.
Jeffy,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Einhardt,
Yes.
Lincoln,
Yes.
Gilmore.
Yes. Okay, motion carried. Now you did talk into it. Brings it down to physical resources and economic development. Dale, did you want to bring something up under airport grants?
Yeah, I just think we've kicked this can down the road. too long. We need to either approve or disapprove the grants that are presented, out there.
Okay,
Um,
Gabe sent a letter requesting they be on the agenda, and I'll confess, I thought that we do need to take care of it, but I hate to see us vote on it before we know what the contract is going to actually say. I think voting on a contract that we don't know the wording on, I wouldn't do it for my personal finances, so I would feel guilty voting in favor of something I didn't know the wording on for the county.
right, we've actually been presented with the parameters of
Not in writing.
of the grant, but I mean, we know, we've addressed it in the past, definitely. And we've given approval to the board to chair, to sign, prior to receiving the written. So, I mean, there's really no sense in having another meeting just to have a signing.
Can we make the motion so, I mean, we know the parameters, as long as we mention the parameters, I mean.
Yeah.
And I know that we had voted in the previous month's meeting to table it till this meeting.
Yes.
So that was something that the board decided to do, was to bring it up and.
Get scheduled, get it.
Yeah.
What is in the contract that could be surprising? Gabe, anything? You've read it, obviously.
Been talking to the Bureau of Aeronautics, Lori, and it's basically a standard grant application, a grant agreement. We receive the money, we have to expend it by the end of the year. And the only stipulation that you relayed to me is that we would then not be able to close the airport for 5 years.
Yeah, there'll be a retention period for 5 years.
Do we already have grants?
Well, we already have that in our deeds
Right.
in perpetuity, so it's a requirement that's already, that we already have.
Do we also already have other grants that we've accepted with the same conditions
Well,
to?
last year we accepted the paving and the paint marking grants, and we accepted those because there are no county match. You know, so we've accepted money as MDOT has presented today in the past, and, you know, those stipulations are the same.
As long as there were no parameters stating at what level we would have to financially support them. But I think if any of that was included, I would object to that.
That's only if you have a NIPIAS, and that would be through MDOT as a fiduciary of the FAA. So at this level, you know, since we received the no match grant, and there is no requirement for the county to.
And we've already been accepting it. It's just, we just have to formally as a board just accept the money. Yeah.
And we know what those parameters are as,
Yeah.
as based on the approval letter.
Also though, no money can be expended on any grant until it's signed. So, what we can, you know.
We
get
start working
started.
on all the other things we have for like the scope, the schedule, the actual wording of the announcement, because we have to follow the county purchasing policy. Because it's more than 20,000, we're gonna have to get 3 sealed bids. We're gonna have to go through that process, so, and that's the angst I have, is that we're burning daylight to get to the end of the year. We have to.
I agree with Dale. I say we vote on it.
Yes.
Question is, what's taking so long to bring the contract up?
I don't know, they're working on it,
That would have been a great question for MDOT when they were here, because we had 3 of the members from MDOT Aeronautics who could have answered. Why did they send us an invoice for 2022? You know, so these things are known that the state is lagging. There's a lot of turbulence and turnover down there. And I think it's just the nature of the beast going forward, that we are going to end up waiting on the state. I think that we need to move forward.
I sent him an email Friday morning, hoping to get some information. And asking them about the grant agreement. And Brian Buds emailed me back on Monday morning and said, we are pushing as hard as we can on our contracting folks. But I don't think we will see it this week, I'm sorry.
And I know that we had questions last meeting, and then I know that those questions got answered in the packets that we got as far as, because I know that you had concerns and questions for last meeting, and that we got the answers to those, so I don't see any reason not to vote and.
All right,
move forward.
I went out, I took the added time because we did delay it till this meeting. I took the added time to go out and talk to my constituency. I talked to them at meetings, I talked to them, you know, by email, by phone, I've gotten phone calls. And everyone, I haven't had one person tell me they were against it. In my area, and for me to vote against it is going against my constituency, and I'm not going to do that. And I think we need to vote on it and get this ball rolling and get that money. So maybe hopefully that in the future, these improvements are going to help the airport excel, hopefully.
Also bringing economic value into the county where otherwise we go to another airport.
Yeah, I mean, we listened to MDOT today.
Yeah.
And total support of it and backing it and thinking that it was an asset and that to the community. So it's, I mean, yeah, we need to move forward so that we can get this ball rolling and no sense in delaying it.
I could be convinced, but I do have trouble approving a contract without seeing.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand that,
I don't
but
know what their holdup is, but,
Are you opposed if we do add in the language to where it's approval upon it being the way that we're expecting it to be?
if there's no cost to the county. Because
There's
if
none.
there's any dollar cost to the county.
I mean, George, I'd be willing to make that motion.
The law that as presented, the one that the appropriation said it was a no match, right?
I know,
Yeah.
and you're more trusting than, I wouldn't sign a personal contract.
Then we don't spend it, and it sits in the airport fund.
Is there-
Treasurer quote you, and then if we find that there is an error as you fear, then we just send the money back if that's the case. I don't really see.
Do you want this with the previous motions?
I don't see no risk either.
I'd
Well,
like to hear.
I haven't listed a motion yet, Dave.
You said you made them.
I would support a motion for it. Basically, is there a formality that I have to read from the last motion that we had with it?
Here's a new one that actually works right in this letter. from-
Oh.
Yes.
Cool.
Give me a second.
I'll take my minutes. Thank you.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just looking at it, I would like to make the motion under the physical resources and economic development airport motion to accept the fiscal year 2025 MDOT state local program funding awarding of $250,000 for upgrading the airfield lighting in the runway 1836 at the Clare County Airport without any matching county funds. As well as under the physical resources and economic development airport motion to accept the fiscal year 2025 MDOT state local program funding award of $4,806 for sealing pavement and surface joints at the Clare County Airport without matching funds.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? I think we do need roll call on this, please.
Rose,
Yes.
Oakley,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Gilmore,
No,
Jenkins,
Yes.
Hauser,
No,
Meinhardt,
Yes.
and Haskell.
Yes.
okay, motion carried. Statutory finance.
Did want to ask, I know in the last meeting we had discussed, but didn't make a motion on, also funding the airport, like doing one whole, if we're going to accept the money for and the improvements, if we also were going to go through and add in and actually fund what's needed in order to keep the airport running.
That'll have to be on a different agenda.
Oh,
Yeah, because mine was specifically for this grant funding to,
I know we just had discussed it last meeting, but I know there was no official motion to make a decision or table that till, so, okay.
Well, that'll be dealt with automatically in our next year's budget.
Okay, so for this year though, it would have to be something added to the agenda.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're back to you, David.
Motion to approve statutory finance committee meeting minutes of April 14, 2025, the amount of $108,674.38. April 28th, 2025, the amount of $230,094.20, and minutes of May 12th, 2025, the amount of $102,575.33.
I'll second it.
Then moved and seconded, roll call, please.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Oakley,
Yes.
Jesse,
Yes.
Yes.
Gonzalez,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yes.
Albert,
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Bacon.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Dave,
Make a motion to approve the expenditures for the month of April 2025 in the amount of $7,766,292. The general fund expenditure totaling $1,218,757.90.
second. Okay, the room is seconded, roll call please.
Pascal,
Yes.
Titus,
Yes.
Trustee,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Hopefully,
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Budget adjustments. I need,
Okay, make motion to approve budget adjustments 2592 in the amount of $12,917,398.35. And budget adjustments 2599 with the amount of $121,590.75.
it's been moved and seconded for the budget adjustments. Roll call, please.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
Can you explain what these are, Kenny?
Yeah, it's the road commission bond. We just had to put a budget into that bond. And then there was some other little ones that we took with at the same time, but the majority was the road commission bond.
Thank you. And then this other one,
Which one? Let me
the
see.
one that's you signed? The small amount, we don't have a formal
Oh,
count.
you're looking at it.
$25.99.
Oh, yeah, because I had increased revenues.
Yeah.
Because of, salvage inspections, housing of inmates. So when I increase the revenues, I have to also increase the expenditures to match.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Get a roll call, please.
Titus,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Pascal,
Yes.
Hopefully,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Trustee.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. Under the court appropriations, if you wanna,
Sure. The county has to match 34% of the total under the court funding. So basically 100% of their funding, we get reimbursed 66% by the state. And what we usually do is, because we put it in a separate fund. We appropriate so much at the beginning of the year, and if they need more, then we appropriate, the other part. Sometimes they don't need as much because they get incentive payments. That are received that go right directly into the front of the court fund. So we're gonna have to appropriate more money. Jenny and I thought $75,000 would be good for you to approve to appropriate. If we don't need the whole thing, we're not gonna use it, we'll just take it over as we need it. So, and that is that does line up with the 34%. We just only appropriate what we need.
So then that appropriation will expand as the amount that the amount that we get reimbursed expands with the amount that we appropriate and
No.
is used.
No,
So they'll never exceed the amount they make it.
correct. It'll never exceed the amount, but it might be under the amount. Yeah.
Okay.
This gives you guys the flexibility to fund it as needed up to the 75,000.
Yes,
To that, to our 34.
to our 34%, right,
That number ends up being,
correct,
Okay.
you guys monitor it to see that you're following.
yes.
or to Jack?
Yeah.
Rick?
Rick.
The motion appropriate 75,000 from the general fund to the front of the court.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Roll call, please.
Trustee,
Yes.
Reinhardt,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Pascal,
Yes.
Hopefully,
Yes.
Titus,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Gilmore.
Yes. Okay, Jack.
I move to renew the county administrator's contract through December of 2020.
Do we make it 23?
No.
Is there a second? Any questions?
I have a question. If we renew this every year, why do we have a 3-year contract? Why don't we just have a 1-year contract?
Well, you don't renew it every year. You've only extended it a year. But I'm requesting that you renew it until the end of this commissioner term.
Well, if we want to get rid of you, that just makes it harder for us.
That's right.
to do
That's
that.
right.
So where's to our advantage here on, what plays into our court by signing this another year?
I say.
Roll call, please.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Justin,
Yeah, I suppose.
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Hopewell,
Yes.
Reinhardt.
Yes.
Congratulations, Lori.
The other day I was thinking, man, I don't know if I want this on the agenda.
Hey, Lori,
Yeah.
can I also get a copy? Can I also get a copy? Thank you.
I make a motion to allow the administrator to purchase ClearGov software at $10,080 with a $10,800 annual subscription fee each year through September 2028.
I
I
know
second
this
it.
is a big ask.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Now go ahead.
I know this is a big ask, I don't ask for a lot, but I, do all of the post audit reporting now, and I'm going to be doing the financial statements. Currently, our auditor does the financial statements. And as you know, it's been a finding for the county for several years, like 20 years, 25 years, I don't know how long. And a lot of that is because it's a cost savings. We're not hiring a third party out there to come and do the financial statement, we're just having our auditor do it. This will assist me in doing those financial statements. And it will also assist me in the budgeting, which I do with a calculator.
And it's compatible with our BS.
And it's compatible with our BSNA. So basically, it's for 3 years. The only out would be after the three years, we just don't renew it anymore. And I'll be gone at that time anyway, so.
Why is the support so much?
I don't really know. I have. Let's see, I put some stuff down again. Oh, it's in your packet.
Cause they probably have to make updates in that to the system every year and.
Sports actually more than the whole thing.
Yeah.
You might as well buy the whole thing every
Well, the
year.
whole, yeah. So the ClearCov setup services, because it would be set up now, it'd be prorated for this first year. And then, the second year and third year would be the full cost.
Which is plus the 3% per year that
Yes.
stacks until after, so then
After the third year,
it goes up to 6% increase.
so 2028, we'd be done with it. If it doesn't work, if it does, it's great, but just so you know too, I am, with me doing all of those post audit reportings, it is a considerable cost savings to the county. And our auditor's not doing those reports.
My concern is the increase over time, because if it becomes an essential part of the process, in order to use this software, if after 3 years, if we have a new county administrator, or if you continue, then every year that we rely on it just becomes more and more expensive till it will tip past that point. Is there other options that?
A heads up, if I can field some of this, our township just went with BSNA. And I'm not a fan, I think they're way too expensive for what they do. Jenny, you probably love their programs, but I think for what they charge, I don't think it's a good deal, but everybody has gone with BSNA. So if you want to be compatible with the other townships or other counties, or compatible within the county, you almost have to be on the vehicle.
What are the alternative options for software for stuff? Cause I know Surrey Township has it, I know the village of Farwell has it, from their meetings, and it's, the price tags that are on it is multiplied by all of the counties and
They,
townships.
they just changed to the cloud and that's why it's expensive. So now it incorporates all the financials in with the tax software. And so there's pretty significant costs when you get those all merged together. So you can go in cash receipting and receipt any of the stuff in. But there probably are other that fit all, because I know Surrey Township and Grant Township just went to their, Grant is in the process going to cloud, but it's expensive. They're wanting
It's
counties to
extremely
go.
expensive.
Can you imagine when the county has to, because we're gonna have to switch at some point.
Have they given any well, yeah, I think they have a deadline, don't they? It's like within
No.
the next,
No.
do they not yet?
No,
Okay.
no, but right now to get on the waiting list for counties, it's like a year and a half out.
Yes.
But
Is there any justification that they give for why cause it's extremely absorbent for, I mean, even,
they're getting rid of the
Just-
.NET, the cloud they said is, more efficient and safe. And it takes.
if it's more efficient, why is it?
PSNA, the safety of their information. If the township doesn't have their servers protected, you know, it takes it now. I mean, they're giving me these reasons. I don't know how it fits here. We're not in that market yet, but that's why it's so expensive.
Is that their standard contract or their annual PI can go back, say, 3% every year? so
Sure, we
3 to
could always
6?
go back and do that, but. Yeah.
Well, that's 3% for the first 3 years, that's 6% after the next, so it'll be 9% by the time that we hit 2028. And then after that, it'll be 15% increase from our original contract in the 4th year and so on and so forth, where it's very quickly will end up doubling how much we,
Well, maybe the next administrator won't want to use that
what's the alternative?
process. I
Doing
mean,
it,
this is just, it's basically a tool just for me.
right,
It would only be a tool just for me, and that's what I'm requesting, is a tool.
and this opens up timelines as far as like the benefit is it increases the amount of, or it decreases the amount of time it takes to do these. Or it, I guess, because you're not currently doing them, right? It's the auditors, so then you'd be taking on this additional responsibility, and then this limits how much time that actually takes off of your current schedule?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, this is gonna help clear up a audit issue we've had for many years. Been here for a while.
How much does
and,
the audit cost us every year? Quite a bit.
$54,000.
70 with the auditors doing the OPEB.
Yeah,
thing
with
that
the
Lori's
OPEB,
taken
yeah.
on, so Lori's actually reduced it by.
This will cut down on that to help offset some of the costs for that, plus your added time.
About
You-
$20,000.
You feel it'll pay for itself.
Well, yeah, I mean, it will probably save about 10 grand maybe.
is there any termination?
Say, you guys pay those 2 for the financial statements.
Right.
Because they
Right.
do everything.
Is there any cancellation? If we
3-year
decide
contract.
before it,
After
right,
the 3
but is there
years.
any fee for cancellation early?
And I didn't notice that there was.
And this is just 3 years that we're approving for this
Yes.
motion,
Mhm.
okay.
What is the initial service period?
I think that's the 3 years.
Is that the initial service period, 3 years?
I think it's the 3 years that their first contract is the initial service period for how long that we'll have service, and then we have to renew for every year after that, and that goes outside of the initial year. So I think it's for the 3 years.
September 28th.
Through
Yeah.
September 30th, 2020.
That's the initial. setup.
So yeah, it would be 3% for the next 3 years. So by the time that we end, we'll be paying 9% more, but then we can decide whether or not we want to continue using it at a rate of then 15% more than the original cost. Without having to pay the initial 10,000 for the setup cost, but still having to pay, I think it'd be up to like 13 or 14,000 for the monthly or the annual subscription, monthly subscription.
That 10,000 that we're gonna save is gonna crash. So,
Yes,
and then this board will have to make a decision 3 years from now on this company. Whether or
yes.
not it's worth it and that.
And maybe it won't be.
But at least for the next 3 years, we see a benefit that it adds.
It's another tool or toolbox.
Okay. Stupid how much they charge for this crap.
It's ridiculous.
Any other questions for Lori on that? I don't think we've made the motion yet. Dale, I think it's up to you.
I read it.
Jeff made it and I seconded it.
Okay.
We're just waiting for a vote.
Okay, sorry. Roll call then, please.
Brusadas,
Yes.
Rankin,
Yes.
Gilmore,
Yes.
Rose,
Yes.
Haskell,
Yes.
Hepburn,
Yes.
Hauser, yes. Reinhardt,
Yes.
Jeffy.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carried.
Ridiculous
Lori, first report.
amount of money. Well,
Good morning.
yeah, I know, but why is it so much? Like, if
So
they don't
the
have any
election went
competition,
very well. There were no
it's not like
issues.
this.
We had higher than normal turnout. And that was directly related to the permanent ballot mailing, where we have, they're on a list to be mailed a ballot every election for the rest of their life. So it increased the number of ballots we had to order, so our costs were higher. But it did increase the number of people that voted, where because they received the ballot, they filled it out and returned it, where in the past, they wouldn't have even asked for the ballot with the permanent AV list versus the permanent AV ballots. So that was a good thing, that it was a higher turnout. Both millages that were on the ballots passed, so that was good as well. Our circuit court staff, it has sent out, as we touched on it during the jury board appointment, we sent out 6,000 jury questionnaires. The jury board met in May to start on the ones that we've received back. And they'll meet again probably in July to go over the rest of them. So my staff is working hard at trying to get all of those inputted for the 2026 year. I had 2 openings in my circuit court. We have hired one. We're offering a second position to a person later today. Hopefully she accepts. That's been a struggle. We had a good response to our openings, but during the process, people took many positions other places, so we had to reschedule and reevaluate. So as quickly as we would schedule an interview, people were taking positions other places, so that's been a struggle, but hopefully the second person accepts today and will be fully staffed again. The property fraud alert program that I have, we're continuing to sign veterans up every month at the Veterans Coffee Hour. So that is good. We had one jury trial in May. And I tend to go down there and talk to the jury during, Jacob was on that jury, was called. And I talked to them about elections and property fraud alert. While they're waiting to be called upstairs to serve on the jury duty, I get them to sign, anyone that wants to sign up for the property fraud alert. It's been very successful. And we get many people signing up during jury, so that's a good thing. I want to just touch on the recovery court. That wasn't going to be part of that isn't part of my report, but I want to thank you for approving what you did in recovery court. I have a family member that I'm not ashamed to say was addicted to meth, and his brothers literally tackled him, held him down, called the police because he was going to die if he continued on the path he was on. It was a very tough, emotional decision that those brothers had to make, but they knew if something didn't change, their brother would die, which was my cousin. He has been sober for at least 5 years now because of the recovery court and because of his faith in Christ. And without this program, he probably would have died. So that is an amazing program, and I thank you for approving that. I'm very proud of him. He is a mentor in the recovery program as well. And then I'm also very proud of one other person that I want to point out today, Isha, in my office. She is an Air Force veteran and has been asked to be the keynote speaker at Clare County's Memorial Day ceremony this year. So I encourage everyone to go out and that's all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
I have a couple. How much higher was the voting turnout with the change with the change from having the application sent out to now having the actual ballot sent out? What was because you noted it was higher? Do you
It was
know?
about 12% higher.
12%, wow.
It's great.
And then how competitive for our positions for clerks are we compared to other counties?
I'm sorry, what was the
Or
first part?
for other, for our circuit court positions, how competitive are we for what we offer? as-
Wages?
Yeah,
So in our county, the wages, I believe are $2 to $3 an hour less from my office to district court or probate court. So that's comparing apples to apples, really. But if you go outside of county, we're about $5 less an hour, but they don't have the benefits package that we have. So you have to weigh whether they want money now or benefits.
okay, because I know you had mentioned that they were taking positions elsewhere, so I wanted to know if it was just was it just a time-wise thing or just a compensation, or do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Can't-
And our biggest hurdle is in county that we get someone hired, train them, and then they transfer. Judge Farrell is a big one for stealing my employees. We get them trained, he sees they're good employees, they work well, and he steals them for $2 or $3 more an hour in county. I have a new wage study I'll share with all of you that I'm working, we just finished.
And then I also just wanted to say, thank you for because I did have jury duty for the May trial, and you came down and you were educating on voter security or voting security and all of the processes that went through and educating all the people in the room. And I thought that was awesome because I learned a lot about how the ballots and everything get handled, and it was crazy how much goes into that I didn't even have an idea about. So thank you for that.
You're welcome, thank you. I try to do that because it's a captive audience, they can't leave.
Yeah.
So I address a lot of the concerns that I hear in the public, and it spurs questions and conversation.
Yeah, that was awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Jenny.
Good morning. You all should have a packet that's got moved around. It's basically the normal, reports that I give you, but I did tell you at the last meeting that I would update this long sheet. I gave it to you last month that gave you the final numbers for 2024. And just as a reminder on this sheet, these are all actual numbers except for the projected column. So you'll see, I added the projected 2025, which we're on course, for what has been budgeted and amended for fiscal year 25. And then I just put some notes down. For instance, for notes for 2024, we used the remaining ARPA funds to offset capital outlay and operating expenses. And then for 2025, it's our first year without ARPA, but we've had increases in our taxable value. And the housing of inmates, which we try not to use, but it offsets some of the costs for us there. And then I just gave you kind of a graph to show what our fund balance has done since 2009. And you can see it was going down all the way until 2019, 2020. And then with the turn of 2020 and the ARPA funds, it actually helped us so much get caught up. And with the efficiencies the administrators made, we're hoping to keep it leveled off. And I mean, we'd love it to keep increasing, but we know with government funds, even just keeping it level would be great. There is the current cash investment and fund balances. This is great for the current fund balances, just to keep you guys on task or on track with what all of the funds that we have, not just our general fund. So if you guys ever have questions on that, please let me know. The checks for settlement did go out at the end of April. So all of the millage entities, 911, seniors transit, the schools, the local units, the county, everybody has been made whole so they can finish operating for the year. We are beginning tax collection for 2025, starts July 1st. So right when we get done wrapping up all of these tax deadlines, we move into creating all the new databases and starting collection again. So we're working on our side with the local unit treasurers to begin the 2025 collection. Just for a reference to save the date, our first public land auction is August 22nd. It's online only. at the time, we have 51 going to the sale, but we're still going and crossing our Ts and dotting our Is to make sure that they all should be going. And then the last thing is Lori and I she's been bringing a lot of electronic recording from our office and making it electronic. And so we're working on another one. I don't know if it's the last one because she keeps coming up with more, but our tax certifications, we're working on being able to do that electronically instead of them having to bring all of the paper stuff, which paper will never go away, just so you know. But she is bringing that electronic. So we're working on bringing that into the office. And that's it, unless you guys have any.
Did have a question. So
Sorry, at top.
I
No,
like,
just kidding.
I have more questions that I've been holding. I got lots of questions.
I am just, Jacob, go right ahead.
So I know that we're supposed to keep a certain percentage of our general fund for it's like 35 or something.
Oh, that's what we like. If it was up to me, I would like to keep 50%.
So is that somewhere in here that of where we're at?
Yep. We have it. If you look on the long sheet, it's right underneath where you see the on the right side, like for 2024, we ended with 36.5.
Okay. Which, and you said you wanted,
Like 50, but
Right.
that's not realistic, but I will 50, but we wouldn't have much in expense wise. So yeah, we're right where we're at. We used to be at 13. I think it was
6.5.
way down, but our goal was always.
Yeah, I see 6.5% here.
Yeah.
Best practice is between 13 and 17%.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're almost
Right.
twice, if not, yeah.
Right. So, yeah. So our goal was always 13%, but that's not really handy. And we used to have to get tax anticipation notes to get us through cash flow until the taxes came in. So realistically, what most municipalities try to do is keep around 30%. So we're trying to keep it at around 35. I don't know if we have anything actually documented, but.
So at the end, because I know we had $800,000 in revenues over expenses. With the, how much is that really if we take out what we need in order to stay at 35%? How much actual would that be? Discounting that amount for what would actually be more in revenues if you were to maintain and drop down the general fund? I don't know if I'm wording that very well, but like if we were to get to 35%, what would be the remainder that's in the general fund that's in excess? Because last year we ended with 36.57%. So that 1.57%, how much is that?
How much money wise?
Yeah.
That would be the 5.9 million. Is that
Okay.
what you're asking? The 5.9 million is what we have in reserve that makes up the 36%.
Percentage.
Right. So, okay, cool. Then I'll do the math.
Does that help?
Yeah, that helps.
I'm not sure.
No, that
I'm
gives
not
me the numbers
sure
I
if
need
I'm
to do the math on
understanding
it.
correctly.
No, that's fine. That gives me everything I need.
Okay.
Awesome.
If you want, stop by and we can kind of go through, because there might be something I don't have on here that you're looking for.
Yeah,
that-
I'd love to stop by. And then this definitely should have been in Lori's section for her renewal of her contract. This right here would have helped.
Also, just note that when Jenny does her projections, so Jenny, and part of this I need to do a better job of, but Jenny does the actual revenue and expenses that are in the current budget right now and any amendments that have been done. But there are some revenue and expenditures that haven't been amended in that budget because we have a couple of positions that weren't gonna be replaced, so I need to reduce those expenditures. But so there are things that I have to do that Jenny doesn't know that I have to do. She just goes exactly by the numbers, when she prints this off. It puts the numbers in, she goes by what the ending is supposed to be, or what it looks like it's gonna be. It doesn't reflect any adjustments that I anticipate having to make, due to a decrease of employees or an increase in revenue, unless I get that in there.
Yeah, this
It's
is what
not
it
gonna
is
reflect
as
that.
of.
So it doesn't
This
account
date
for the months that we had where we didn't have two clerks that we were paying salary for.
So this, when you see the projected,
Yeah.
it's the way the budget is set right now.
Okay.
So if
Deal.
those people are in the budget.
Which is,
right
that's
now,
what
they're
you're
in
saying, is
here.
that you're accounting for
Mhm.
when we don't have
Correct.
payroll coming out for those two positions. Okay,
Operational adjustments through time.
Right.
good deal.
Change the budget that she is not aware.
Right,
Awesome.
like you
Right.
know that it's coming, but I haven't gone in and actually done the adjustment,
Perfect.
like, you know, there's so many to do all the time, so.
Basically, Jenny's the black and white with the numbers and she's gray area.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So the
And
budget
then what-
adjustments that are in this packet are included in these numbers, but any of the other stuff approved today, none of that is. And if there's some open areas in employees that they probably haven't been adjusted yet, so they're included in the expense side and not taken out. So this is exactly as you have approved as of this date and time,
Black and white.
black and white.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Green and yellow.
Feel free to come and ask any questions if you have any.
Thanks, Jen.
I was just kidding. Dave.
Oh, no, I have tons of questions. I'll come back.
You have tons of questions left.
Chairman report. First thing I'd like to do is congratulate Gabe and the crew that did the fly-in. It was extremely well organized. And I was pleased to see they had so many people actually drive in. I'm sorry they weren't able to fly in. But your weather really was not cooperative, but you guys did an excellent job. And thanks for being patient with my suggestions yesterday at your meeting. So, I've been attending my meetings. Nothing really important or noteworthy to relay. We heard from Brian today with community mental health, and that's the most excitement I've seen in my meetings lately. Excuse me. Okay, David.
Just first of all, thank you guys for your support and your patience with the airport. A lot of members of the community are gonna be very pleased. Every township that I talked to this month was very much so interested in the results of today's meeting. Out in Franklin Township, the ordinance rewrite continues. They're gonna be repealing their fire ordinance. With the new special assessment, they can legally have the fire surcharge that they've been having. So they have to withdraw that one. They're working on getting the wording done for their spiller pay ordinance. They have been lagging behind a little bit from the other townships, but that it looks like it's about to be finished. They also approved the early voting contract, and there's been concerns about the Trout Lake Dam situation. A couple of my townships ended up this month, just due to weird calendar things, having 2 meetings, so Franklin was one of those townships. Over in community action, there was discussion about changes to the state OMA law, which now excludes community actions from having to by law do some of the Open Meetings Act stuff, although we continue to do the spirit of the law. We have a new director. Mark is taking over for Jill. Jill has retired after a very, very long time in the chair, 16 years as CEO. So we wish her well. She's looking forward to moving to private sector and continuing efforts to help community action at state and federal level to continue with the grant funding. The federal funds, as you guys know, have been being reviewed for all different avenues of the federal budget, and community action is putting a close eye on that. Summerfield has accepted the mobilization contract and its personnel rates changes. Hoping that means certainly for all the effort that they put in. They also approved the new lawn mowing contract. Over in Hamilton Township, they have now approved a Apex portal for their assessor, so that when she's in the field, they can all scan the drawings in right away. So job that will take like an hour and a half, trying to figure out which, so properties. When he gets home, and I'll be gone in like 45 minutes. When you actually staying there, so that'll do much time savings for them. They are also working on moving forward with the park that they received from the state Sparks grant. They're also going to be applying for a T-Mobile grant to do electrical work in the park. They're hoping to get that. Up Merrifield, there's been concerns about air quality, especially near some of the gas wells. So Eagle is going to be doing an air quality investigation into the area. They also approved the renewal of their liability insurance. And then Frost Township, Frost was another once where it's the Delta. They approved the equalization contract. We talked about the upcoming FTA meeting in June, and they spent quite a bit of time talking about how a lot of grants have very lengthy holes to jump through. About grant that they put forward. They spent a week trying to get everything sorted out between them and the grant holder. So very used of driver. That's all I have.
Thanks, David. Hey.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So just to dovetail on the chairman's remarks about the fly-in. I'd like to publicly thank some of the people that assisted in this. First of all, the Clear County Road Commission, MMR, the Sheriff's Department, East Township, specifically Brendan Powell, Supervisor, and Savannah Kavanaugh, Treasurer, both participated in EFW Post 1075 for the use of some of their equipment. We had a lot of coffee and donuts provided by local businesses, so I'd like to note them. First of all, Cops and Donuts from Claire provided 500 of them. Rhino came up, and that was very nice. The airport restaurant, BB Coffee here locally, provided all the coffee as well as donuts. Up North Coffee, longer table, both Harrison, and then Mrs. Carol Steyer, she participated as well and provided food. Countywide Septic down in Clare provided the porta potties at a reduced cost to the airport. I'd like to name out Pat Adams, Carl Lonsberg, and Kim Kennicott, who provided support with their side-by-sides. Of course, the Harrison Area Pilots Association and all their membership was present to assist. And then all unnamed volunteers and unnamed community supporters. So thank you for all of that. And sorry if I missed any that time.
Thank you. Marlene?
I've been attending my meetings, nothing special, but I would like to congratulate the road commission on their groundbreaking for their new building.
I don't have too much to add on the local level, but I would like to say there's sure a lot of uncertainty that we need to be looking at from the federal budget to the state budgets. They haven't come up with any solutions yet, and they're still talking, but I would be completely wrong, and lots of times I am. But I think we're going to see some things that is gonna make us pretty uncomfortable as far as programs that are funded by either federal or state dollars. So we need to keep an eye on it. I don't know when they're gonna get a federal budget, but the state can't really come up with theirs until they give word on what's going to happen on the federal level. But a lot of uncertainty.
Button. I have had a major life event, so I missed my Surrey Township meeting, but I was able to talk to the supervisor and get some information from there. I know that they had a new trustee added to their board, and then as far as the village and the township go, Village of R1 Surrey Township, they are in the works of a contract with the road commission for doing road work jointly between the three of them. So that's exciting. Other than that, I don't have anything else.
Yeah.
Last but not least, I've just been attending my meetings. Lincoln Township's moving forward on their park grant that they received. They received over $800,000 for improvements to the Shingle Lake Park. We had meetings last week with MDOT and the state and that on layouts of the park and functionality of some of the things they're adding and stuff like that. So, but it's still moving forward, which is good. We were a little worried there with all the cuts that maybe something like that might be cut back or withdrawn the money, but seems to be moving forward. So, yeah. Other than that, Lincoln Township Fire Department, I'm gonna put a plug in we're having a fundraiser this Saturday from 9 until noon. It's a pancake sausage breakfast. We're trying to raise some funds for some new ice water rescue equipment and that. So all you can eat, and we got some great door prizes. Some stuff from the casinos and golf courses and some great door prizes. So if you want to come out and have some pancakes, Lincoln Township Hall, 9 to noon Saturday. So that's all I got.
Thanks. Public comment.
I've got, one public comment, on your new,
State your name so she can record.
pardon?
State your name so our clerk can record.
Kurt Krug, KURTKRUG.
Thank you.
Okay. I would like to compliment you on your new sound system. I was flying Air Force planes before they were too picky about ear protection. So I am quite challenged, I realize that. But today's system was very good. Even some of you who are soft talkers, if you stay close enough with your mouth to your microphone, you come through loud and clear. You might want to tell your guest speakers that they have to stay pretty close to that mic with their mouth. Because that poor man that was talking about mental health, he was almost done when I figured out he was talking about mental health. The rest of you come through pretty good. If you don't, when you drift away from your mic, you pretty much defeat the system. But it does work. Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. Okay, anything else to the crowd?
Oh, one more.
Go ahead.
Kelly Harrison, I just wanted to make a comment about the ClearGov software. I researched this prior to this because I made a request to Lori. She has a scanned copy of the budget in the public website, which is great for transparency. But when you take that, if you're gonna convert that back into digital format and then assess it, which I was hoping to do, it's not great to try to reverse engineer something that was scanned on a scanner. So ClearGov would resolve that, and we didn't, I don't think she advertised the fact that will be great for transparency for constituents. I don't know if that's part of your plan with it, but I hope that it is, so thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Wait,
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, George. I'm a supporter. Well, the things I wanted to talk about, don't need to, so. Thank you everyone for voting to approve the grant for the airport. It's much appreciated. Everybody who's working on that. Everyone knows it's long, but it's just first speed. Going to try our hardest to improve. But that airport is going to be the one who's allowed us to take for that grant. And future money. I'm sorry, Dale, I think you were the one who pushed to have it put back on the agenda.
Yes.
So, thank you, much appreciated. And then Jack. Learned today that you were an early adopter of the sobriety program. As someone who benefited, I didn't benefit, a family member did. Thank you. Me, my siblings, my children, my nephew, all of my family members have the best version of our family because of that program. They might not even be here today if it wasn't for that program, because of the road that they were heading. So thank all.
thank every single one of you who voted yes for that. For approving those funds to expand that. I know there's gonna be a lot of happy family members. I'm nervous and I'm pretty choked up over that one, because it wasn't something I was expecting to speak about, but I hope you all know how great that program is. I hope none of you have to experience it or go through it or have family members that have to go through it, but it's a good thing when it's there, because it does do a lot of good, and it does help people realize that there's a better version of themselves that they might have never been able to know about before that program. So thank you. And again, thank you for helping support our airport and keeping it open. Appreciate it.
Steyer. I just want to say thank you to the board members that voted to accept those grants. I know this is only the beginning of the work. I would ask that you kind of cultivate the airport so we can attract businesses. You know, the lights becoming standard lighting, that'll attract more pilots. The smoother surface of the runway, that'll attract more pilots. But besides the pilots, you know, some of the businesses that would like to locate here, maybe possible educational opportunities with CTE. That's something that the airport committee is looking into. That would be an awesome opportunity for our, not just for Harrison, but for the whole county. And in fact, declare Gladwin RESD. So I hope that the people who voted against it will understand that this isn't just about us here, but the whole community. Okay. So kind of try to embrace that, embrace it like it was in your township. Okay. Thank you.
You know.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
I'll second.
So moved to technically adjourn, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Am I gonna take these home with me?
Adjourn.